Hello, my name is Ben.
My name's Andrew.
And we are your hosts of the Too Vague podcast this week. One word, two hosts, stories, trivia, and video games.
Heavy on the trivia.
Heavy on the trivia for Andrew. Heavy on the video games for Ben.
That's right.
You know, it all balances out.
We all meet in the middle, and then with a sprinkling of Pringles later on.
Yes, Pringle dust.
Magic Pringle dust.
Right.
From our hopefully soon-to-be sponsor, Pringles.
Yes. I didn't know if you were going to refer to our Pringles sponsor or our Walmart.
Oh, that's right. Spoiler alert. This episode's variety of Pringles is the hot honey flavor.
Yes.
Only available at Walmart.
Right.
And you can order them online, so you don't actually have to go to Walmart.
I mean, I like Walmart, but where are all the beautiful people?
Yeah. Hey, you know, this is on the premise of Walmart.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm getting ahead of ourselves. No, but this is actually not about Walmart. It's about Target.
Oh, okay.
In the news this week, Target's closing a bunch of stores. 3 of them that they're closing are in the Portland area.
Okay.
2 of the particular Target stores that they're closing, they were made inside the buildings of former bowling alleys.
That's an interesting architectural sort of move.
It is. It's interesting. That's the right word. It's kind of a bad move. But yeah, first we had one bowling alley Target, then we had 2 bowling alley Targets, and now we're going to have no bowling alley Targets.
They're former bowling alley Targets, right? It's not like they have the bowling alley in the Target.
No, it's just the same. It's a bowling alley building. Yeah, so what's that one that's down by the safe house? Yeah, the Lucky Strike Bowling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically a building like identical to that, except for it's a Target inside. So it's like kind of funny. The front part's elevated, and then there's a few steps down to like the rest of the store, and it's just weird.
It doesn't sound like bowling alley is large enough for a Target to me.
It's a small Target. It was like their city Target concept. They were doing that for a bit, trying to make smaller Targets inside urban areas.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just so they could facilitate online sales that, you know, people could just go pick it up at the Target close to them. I don't know. It was a bad idea. So there were like 3 of these smaller concept Targets in Portland, and those 3 are getting shut down. And they're blaming shoplifting, but I blame it was a bad idea. That's what I think.
Okay. You're not blaming the former bowling alley.
Well, no, I think it was a bad idea to put a Target in an old bowling alley. I would prefer to have the bowling alley.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm pro bowling alley.
They originally had all the pin setters where the people who would check you out were, they scrapped that. It was like too Art Deco or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to have human pin Anyway, let's not even.
Exactly, yeah.
Human pin setters.
That should be a different episode.
The human pin setter?
Or just bowling.
Oh gosh, yeah, bowling. It's got so many.
Why didn't I think of that?
We can do that later. We can do that post-pregnancy.
When the kid's ready to bowl.
Well, maybe not that long.
I mean, okay.
Are you talking like ready to bowl as in you use it as the bowling ball? Or are you talking about it?
I'd be in trouble. I think like ready to hang out in the stroller in a bowling alley.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
That would be all right.
Okay.
Probably.
Just not tossing it down the lane.
No, we're not. You know what? I'm going to save the bowling stories for later.
Okay, let's do that.
Save the other episode, because like this episode is a very specific topic.
In fact, the premise of this episode.
Yes.
There you go. That's what it is.
Yeah, the premise of it. What is it?
Exactly. But before we get into that.
Oh, yeah. Let's get into what we got to get into. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's ask you, what have you been up to?
Well, as I alluded, we're getting ready to have a baby.
Yes.
In the next couple of weeks. So that's exciting. I've been at work, working at school, doing the thing where I try to help kids with their self-esteem and reading and math and all that.
Right.
It's been interesting because I have an appropriate amount of like detachment from my job, like my emotions.
Uh-huh.
Like last year at this time, I was like a seething just wad of anger and disappointment about how work was going because of people and their decisions that I disagreed with and all that.
Right.
Mainly because things are different and they used to be like this and now they're like this and I don't like that.
Right.
This year, I'm going to go on parental leave in a few weeks and I'm going to have a baby and none of that stuff that I got upset about really matters that much right now.
No, not at all.
So that's really been nice, actually.
Yeah, very cool. So how much parental leave do you get off from work?
Lovely Oregon just enacted paid family leave. So I can take 12 weeks of family leave
12?
within the first year. Yeah, so it's like 3 months. It's like the FMLA, but like the federal FMLA is like, you can take 12 weeks off. It's not necessarily paid. It depends on the employer.
Right.
And then the state of Oregon recently passed a law saying, hey, we want everybody to be able to take time off with their kid, or if there's another medical thing, and at least get 12 weeks paid. So everybody gets taxed a little bit, and then there's this fund that pays that. So
wow.
I think California has a similar thing, and maybe a couple other states.
Not Arizona.
Yeah, I can't tell you about Arizona. I mean, Arizona doesn't like to do stuff, so yeah.
Well, as it stands now, I mean, I don't know if it's just that I work too much during the regular work year, but I've got so much time off I need to take before the end of the year because it all won't roll over, which is not something I've ever had to deal with in other jobs. I mean, it's great.
Weird.
Adding 12 weeks of paid parental leave on top of that, geez, I don't know. That's like...
Yeah, you should find a baby.
Well...
Just find a baby.
Okay, I'm glad you went that route and not the route of get someone pregnant. That's probably... Yeah, just find a baby, just like randomly. It's like, oh,
yeah, okay.
Hey, I just found this baby. Like Raising Arizona. I should go to Unpainted Arizona. Maybe they have a baby they could loan me for a while.
The Arizona quintuplets.
Yep.
Yeah, so the irony is, yes, in my job, I've been there for like 11 years. And like every year I get, a certain amount of sick days. And they've been accruing because I don't get sick that often. And so technically I have enough sick time that I could just take that amount of sick time.
Oh, okay.
But now that they changed the law so that like it's paid leave, then I'm supposed to take this paid leave and I can't use my sick. I don't know. It's confusing. And it's more paperwork. Since it's a new program, it seems like that nobody knows how it works. So
there's a learning curve there. Yeah. You have the option to take it when you want, right? It's not like you have to take it consecutively. You've got 12.
No, you can take it consecutively, or you can take it intermittently, or you can break it up into 2 chunks, or,
wow.
So I'm going to take some right when baby comes, and then probably take the rest next fall.
Okay.
It'll be a mess for my employer. That's what I'm going to try to make it as difficult for my employer as possible. They'll be like, the law says you have to let me do this.
Right.
And then they'll be like, but we don't know how. And it's like, okay.
You do know that they can listen to this episode, right?
Oh, yeah, my employer. Yeah, you know what? They're busy right now.
They're too busy figuring out how to deal with this paid parental leave change.
Oh, yeah. Well, the paid parental leave, yeah, that's the least of their problems right now.
No, okay.
They're bargaining with 2 job groups at least, maybe 3.
Oh.
Yeah, it's bargaining time, and you know what that means in 2023 America.
Labor unions.
Yeah, the labor unions, people are feeling pretty unhappy about the states of their paychecks, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
This can turn very political, so let's
Oh yeah, no, I'm just going to draw a line that some people aren't happy.
It's true. What I've been up to, a lot of games, basically.
Yeah.
A
lot of games.
Yeah.
You went to the game party, the big game party in Seattle, right?
Oh, you did?
No, you did.
Oh, yeah. The Penny Arcade Expo.
You did 3 episodes of that.
Yes, and had a lot of fun there. Got some potential guests. I've got, in episode 2, I talked about meeting Johnson and Daniel, and they want to be on the show. We're going to...
Oh, that's cool.
And then also Billy, who made Animal Well, is going to hopefully be on the show coming up closer to when he releases Animal Well. So,
see, now you're being a legit, you're going way into the video game part with that.
Yeah. But I mean, these folks have really interesting stories about their personal life and then also how they got to where they are. So I think it's,
it's
an
that's awesome.
interesting marriage of the two concepts of the show. So
I'm excited to see how that develops.
it'll be fun. I made some new friends there. So, but anyway, games that I've been playing. I mentioned Dave the Diver last week.
Dave the Diver. Like Bob the Builder, only... No, that was...
No. It's...
He dives for the sushi.
He dives for the fish, and you have to level up your different weapons and instruments, and you meet dolphins that I think are underwater sea people, but I'm not quite sure yet because I'm not that far in the story. You rescue them from poachers, and then you've got people who are animal rights activists who are telling you that you can't fish in the blue hole. The story is progressing, and it's still a lot of fun, and it's still pretty relaxing. I've hired on some people in my sushi restaurant, some cooks.
Right. That's the thing, yeah. Deep sea diver by day, sushi restaurateur by night.
Exactly. And my standings are going up in the app that
right on.
We talked about ridiculous fishing, and one of the things in ridiculous fishing is this fictitious app.
Oh, yeah.
You can look at your catalog and stuff. It looks like a phone, but that's how you get your news and how you get hints and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's similar in Dave the Diver, except it's got more apps. It's more up to date.
You mean Dave the Diver is more robust and fleshed out than ridiculous fishing?
Yes, it is. It's got its one concept, but it does build on the complexity and how you have to find the fish and then level up your equipment. And right now I just got something where I can set a trap to catch these big fish, and then you can send your little remote control thing to pick them up so you can use it for sushi, and you can make lots of bucks off these. I think it's salmon. I don't know. A fish is a fish, man.
A fish is a fish. A salmon's a fish that lives in the ocean until it lives in a river.
Right. And swims upstream or whatever.
There is a word for that, but... And I live in salmon country, and it really should be like on the exam they make you take when you become an Oregonian, but
it's not.
It's not. They just basically they don't have an exam. But you know what they do have an exam for?
What?
In the Multnomah County, that's the county that Portland's in.
Yep.
If you want to work in a restaurant, you got to get a food handler card.
Okay.
So to get the food handler card, you have to go to the county and take this quiz with 10 questions on it.
Okay.
And 9 of the questions are about when you're supposed to wash your hands, which is every time.
Right.
And the other question is about how hot food should be.
Huh.
If you want to work in a restaurant, you got to go and pay $10 and take a quiz that says you should wash your hands a lot when you work with food.
And what temperature the food should be to serve it.
And what temperature beef should be, and I don't know. There's poultry is yeah. I took it one time for a reason.
Was it Pringles related?
No, it was not Pringles related, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Now we get back to the premise of this podcast.
Yeah, let me finish up the tons of games I've been playing really quickly.
Yeah, you got Dave the Diver, which is kind of like Baywatch Nights vibe to it, because he does one thing in the day and the other thing at night, right?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Lifeguard by day, private investigator by night.
Exactly, Magnum PI. I was just about to say, it's kind of got a Magnum PI-ish cast.
Oh, right. That's right.
Really enjoying my time with that. Oh, by the way, Dave the Diver was released by a company called Mint Rocket this year.
Mint Rocket.
Mint Rocket.
Mint Rocket, proud sponsor of Hot Honey Pringles. No, they're not sponsoring anything.
I don't think they sponsor the Pringles. Pringles doesn't need sponsorship. But
okay, fine.
Intermittently playing Monster Hunter Now, which is a game that was released by the company that did Pokemon Go. Niantic.
Right.
So I've been walking around with my phone hunting monsters at night. So that's been fun-ish.
Yeah.
Started playing Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart by Insomniac Games for the PlayStation 5. It was one of the release titles. I don't know if you ever heard of Ratchet and Clank, but it originally, I believe, came out in the PlayStation 2 era. It's a Lombax who's like the only one of its kind. He meets a robot, and together they have adventures. Well, this is Rift Apart. It's one where Ratchet and Clank and their counterparts in another dimension are, working together to save the world from collapsing on itself.
Yes.
And that was after I completed a game, which we'll talk about in the actual game section. Also started playing Cyberpunk 2077's newly released Phantom Liberty DLC expansion. It's not really connecting with me, but the last time I completed the game was 3 years ago on the PlayStation 4. Cyberpunk 2077 had kind of a rocky start, but apparently they've redeemed themselves. There's a lot to talk about with that. I'm not a big fan of buying content post-launch, but this one has Idris Elba in it, so it's okay.
Idris Elba, here for it.
Yep, yeah. But that's what I'm up to. So lots of games, just lots. Let's move on to Andrew's Sensory Adventures.
My Sensory Adventures.
Yes, not yet sponsored by Pringles.
This is the third can from the trifecta that was first sent to me by Ben.
We did French fries and ketchup, but it's actually just ketchup. We did the Philly cheesesteak.
Smelled kind of like feet, but tasted like cheesesteak. And now we got hot honey, only at Walmart.
We can talk about the Pringles tasting roadmap later on.
It's a roadmap.
For when we're going to do the other trifecta.
Sprinkle the Pringles love out through the whole episode if we want. Yeah.
Exactly.
We're ready for the
hot honey?
I'm about to pop the top.
Okay, let's do it.
Because once you pop, you can't stop.
That's what I'm told.
Okay, here we go. Pop the top.
Wow.
All right, so this is hot honey. When I smell it, it smells like Pringles.
It just smells like normal Pringles?
I'm not smelling anything that tells me hot. Honey's not coming through in the smell, but that's okay. The heat and the sweetness from honey, I think that's more of a thing that you get from your taste buds rather than through the nose.
That's true.
So that's not stopping me. All right, I'm going to try it now. I'm going to try. The top chips in a Pringles can are always kind of chewed up. I mean, they're just broken around the edges, so.
They need to put some sort of baffle, some sort of a top that's cushioned in such a way that
they need to add more packaging to the. No, I think they got it figured out because the little crumbs at the end, they're kind of treat themselves. It's all right. Okay. I mean, I do like the perfect Pringles shape that you get sometimes, and I don't know if this is just me, but these Pringles look a little smaller than other Pringles.
Oh, really?
I might just be my eyes are tricking me.
An optical illusion.
Or maybe Walmart is like, hey, it's the Walmart brand. We're going to make tinier Pringles. But I doubt that. I don't want to disrespect Walmart.
Seeing as how they're a potential sponsor.
Strike that. They're a potential sponsor. No, Walmart, they're the only place you can get the hot honey.
Right.
I think I was just having a memory of being a child and eating Pringles. And as a child, they were much bigger.
Yeah.
But I was much smaller. So we'll try this. We're looking for the heat and the honey. You ready?
All right, let's do it. So are you getting any heat or honey?
Not much.
No?
I'm going to say it's another flamin' medium experience.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's honey. It's a little sweet, and the heat is not near what the scorching whatever it was that I had the other time.
When you say hot, you're expecting a certain level, a certain number of Scovilles, I guess.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's very low, a low number.
I would say this is like probably I'm the least impressed by this Pringle variety of the ones we've tried.
Okay.
This is
a fail.
It's a fail. I would say Suspicious Stew had more flavor than these guys.
Okay, that's saying something too. It's not one of those situations where all the dust on the top got somehow distributed down the stack.
I'm gonna drag one out from the middle. And
okay, let's try that. Yeah,
we'll try that. We're gonna give them, but I'm like, no,
still,
it's consistently kind of lame. Yeah.
I
mean, the honey's not very strong. And neither is the hot.
Yeah, because there's a hot and sweet target that you can meet that makes things, like sweet and sour sauce or whatever, right?
Yeah, right.
But if this is neither, what's a more appropriate name for this Pringles flavor?
Semi-sweet burn. I don't know.
Semi-sweet skin irritation.
Semi-sweet skin irritation. Yeah. It is. It's like the honey's not really, it's barely there, and then
Well,
The hot is barely there. It's
well, I apologize for picking the wrong flavor, but this is an experiment anyway, right? So, I mean, we're going to get some bad ones here.
But, I think anybody who's like accustomed to eating Takis or the whatever explode your head chips they have out there would like try that. And I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what Pringles was aiming for, but maybe that's the reason they're only available at Walmart.
Yeah, maybe.
Remember, they were like, we cannot make this fly off the shelves at Circle K.
So let's make it an exclusive. Hey, Walmart.
Yeah, we'll make it exclusive. We'll trick people into buying it by saying you can only get it at Walmart.
Right. We'll give them one good flavor in the Philly cheesesteak, but we're not giving them two of our good flavors.
The ketchup, the French fries and ketchup was much, much more satisfying.
Oh, okay.
Even if the French fry part was,
right. Built in.
It didn't quite hit on the front, and I got a second opinion from Catherine. She was not interested in the hot honey.
Okay.
In the Pringles defense, I pretty much always have a hot honey here at home, so.
Right. Okay, well, that's the conclusion of Andrew's sensory adventures.
It wasn't that much of an adventure, sad to say, but.
I mean, the premise itself seemed like it was going to be interesting, but it was not.
No. I'm excited about the what's on the horizon for us here.
For the Japanese flavors, I'm curious about what's going to happen with those, because the curry flavor has the potential to be pretty hot, right?
I am holding out some hopes for the Japanese flavors to actually really deliver on some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still recommend that you use your Google Translate on the actual container, because there will be some comedy there. I can assure you.
Yeah. Okay, that will be my next TikTok.
Right.
Can I record the video while I do the Google Translate with my phone with that?
I don't think so, but I've never tried.
I can do a screenshot and then do a voiceover.
Yeah, you could probably do that.
Yeah.
This is all how the sausage is made, kind of, here. But
how the sausage is made is, I try to do funny things with my phone, and
yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes they work.
Because I'm borderline old.
Yeah, borderline. Right.
We're borderline old.
Yeah, this is true.
Not officially old, just
borderline.
Borderline.
And just the fact that I'm reminded of Madonna by that kind of is an illustration.
Yeah.
Of how borderline it is. Keep on pushing my love over the... Anyway. Okay, so let's get into the word.
What's the word today?
The word premise.
Premise.
Yes, not to be confused with the word premises.
No, premises.
It is the word premise.
I believe they are related concepts.
The words are related.
They are related, yeah.
But there is sort of a Venn diagram here where it works one way, but it doesn't work the other way. But we'll get into it when we talk about the word premise.
There's nuance.
Yeah.
One word is very specific about a certain kind of thing where...
Right.
Yes.
Let me just say the definition then, and then we can...
Oh, yeah, do that, because I'm getting vague. I'm getting too vague. And we need a definition.
I am looking at the Merriam-Webster dictionary today. The word premise, a noun, one of two. There's a verb as well. The noun is a proposition anecdotally supposed or proved as a basis of argument or inference.
Oh, especially in the context of logic, yes.
Yeah.
A previous statement or preposition from which another is inferred or follows as a conclusion.
Are you looking at the definition here?
You know what? I just Googled premise definition, and then I think this one comes from Oxford Languages.
Oh, okay. Specifically, either of the first two propositions of a syllogism from which a conclusion or the conclusion is drawn.
If the premise is true, then the conclusion must be true. That's really sad.
We've also got something assumed or taken for granted. Presupposition is another.
Yeah.
Premise, also premises, plural. Matters previously stated, specifically the preliminary and explanatory part of a deed or of a bill in equity.
Mm-hmm. How about this? This is the Cambridge Dictionary.
Okay.
An idea or theory on which a statement or action is based.
That's a good one.
It doesn't seem as wishy-washy as some of the other ones.
Yeah. Oh, hey, there is a kid's definition. I kind of like these. Maybe I'll just do the kids' definitions because these are nice and short and sweet. They have premise as a statement taken to be true and used as a basis for argument or reasoning. That's another good, very specific one too.
That's pretty good. That's good in there. Yeah.
But they also have in the kids' definition the plural, which is what we kind of alluded to, which is
plural of premise.
Yes, the premises, which is a piece of land with the buildings on it.
Piece of land with the buildings on it.
But that is the plural. A building or a part of a building, usually with its grounds. So that is premises. You cannot go backwards from that.
Premises.
Yes.
Premises. Some people would like to.
Some people say.
Premises.
Yes.
Premises. I don't know who says premises. Probably I would if I was trying to be pretentious.
Yes. Premises and premise are two different words, but premises is plural by its nature, but you cannot call a premises singular a premise. But you can call multiple premises premises. Very interesting, I think. Premises. It's kind of like that whole thing with regime and regimen. Are you familiar with those words?
Yeah, regime and regimen. Yeah.
Some people use them interchangeably.
Ooh.
But if you look at the definitions of regime and regimen, it's very interesting because the archaic version of each one of the words is the opposite. So if you look at it, if you look at regime, one of the archaic uses is the regimen. And then also, if you look at regimen, one of the archaic uses is regime.
I see what you're saying. They are closely related words that at some point people switched where they use them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, who knows with what is going on with the word premise, maybe eventually it will come to mean, I mean, if it's used a single place, but right now it's not.
I've never heard anyone ever use it that way.
Okay.
In real life, I don't know.
Yeah.
Have I?
I have, and it bothers me.
You have. No, yes, you have. We had a.
Let's not get into that.
We're not getting into that. I was trying to give you an out.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you.
No. I was like, nobody does that.
No.
Nobody calls the company campus a premise.
No, they don't.
Well, premise is the basis for a nice sketch comedy bit.
And actually, that's one of the first things I think of is sketch comedy bit. But what is your first thought when you hear the word premise?
I think usually I think of like the basic idea that a story is based on. Like if someone's telling me about a movie or a TV show or a video game, they'll be like the basic, this is the main thing that happens in it is this, you know. Sort
of an elevator pitch kind of thing, but it's story related or might be related to the mechanics of a game, possibly.
Oh, yeah, it could be. Especially, you know, it's a game. I guess I was thinking more like, you know, the story-driven games that you like.
Right. Let's go back to the Dave the Diver thing. You can pitch that as saying, well, it's part spearfishing, part sushi restaurant. And that's the premise, right?
Right.
And those are the game mechanics that are, and also the story, I guess, by relation. But
yeah, if you talk about the premise of Baywatch Nights.
Yeah, what is it?
It's that lifeguard Mitch Buchanan moonlights as a private investigator.
How long did that last?
I don't know. I never really watched either of those shows. It was one of those things where I would be like, I need to know that this show exists, and I don't want to watch it.
David Hasselhoff, yeah?
It was David Hasselhoff.
Isn't he that musician?
Oh, yeah. He had a concert at the Berlin Wall.
Yep.
Right while it was coming down. Oh, my God. Or before it was coming down or after. I don't know.
He was also in Dodgeball.
He was in Dodgeball?
He was the coach and inspiration of the German Dodgeball team. And then when they lost, he cussed them out.
He did the theme song for Kung Fury.
He did. Yeah.
I'm glad you know what Kung Fury is.
I love Kung Fury. That is such a great, like a mini episode kind of thing. And then one of the guys who's in Lonely Island was Hitler. He played Hitler. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine
that explains the laser raptors.
The laser raptor.
If you have not seen Kung Fury, definitely look it up.
Yeah, look it up.
There was talk of a movie, like an actual full-length movie, but I don't think you want to do that. Leave it because it's fine.
I feel like how long was it? Like 20 minutes or?
Yeah, about 20 minutes.
Yeah. Something like that. It was a solid 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And it had some really cool sort of like making fun of 80s things, essentially. Right.
Yeah.
So,
there was like a Triceracop, right?
Right. Triceracop was your straight-laced partner.
Yep.
Yeah.
They pulled every toy out of the box. Yeah, it was good.
Definitely worth checking out if you haven't checked out Kung
out.
Fury.
So the premise of Kung Fury.
Go ahead and do that.
The premise of Kung Fury was that. What the hell was the premise? It was a time travel cop. Kung Fury had to go back to the past to use his kung fu power to
defeat Hitler.
Oh, defeat the Kung Fuhrer, right?
Right.
Because Hitler was going to get the power of Kung Fury, and he needed to stop that.
His partner died, and then he became a lone wolf when it came to being a police officer. Then his boss said to him, I mean, maybe I'm going too far into it. It's just like your buddy cop picture tropes, and then also your kung fu movie tropes, and then just anything
plus
80s.
Time travel trope.
Yeah, exactly.
And the time machine was like sweet. Yeah. It was like a time deck, right?
Yeah, it was a Nintendo Power Glove, I think, wasn't it?
It was yeah, the Nintendo Power Glove was definitely involved.
Yeah. And he's going to hack
it was
time.
Like,
the
and
dude
there was the
time.
nerd at the computer, like hacking time. Yeah, it was like.
Talk about premises.
What was that, like 2012, 2013? You know, it's aged well.
I think so. Yeah, but it
holds up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll just whip it out and watch it. There's a list of things that I will do that with. One of them is this video called Rotate Your Owl, where they take some old footage of scientists showing you how owls' heads remain stationary.
Yeah.
and then they just sing a song in the back called Rotate Your Owl.
Rotate Your Owl.
Rotate Your Owl. Premise is everything, man. I mean, anything that's an idea.
Yeah, a premise is an idea that you can base anything else off of. That's a premise.
And it doesn't have to be good. It can be a bad.
It could be a bad premise, like Hot Honey. That's a kind of a bad premise.
Right. Right.
No offense, Pringles.
We got this big block of butter. Let's use it as a doorstop. That's not a good idea. That's a premise.
It's a premise.
But it's not a good premise.
Does it lead to a satisfactory conclusion?
Yes, this is the question. Whether it does or not, it has nothing to do with the premise itself.
Right.
It's an assessment you make after the fact. It's a post-mortem, if you will.
If you will.
If you will. And I will.
You will.
And I will.
What if I won't?
Well, if you won't, if you will, if you won't. Is there anything else you think of with premise before I get into my premise beach?
Premise beach.
Did you see that?
I did see that. Oh, well, gosh. Premise beach.
Did you ever get into Kids in the Hall, the Kids in the Hall
I
show?
loved Kids in the Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did a newer series a couple of years ago, and I saw one episode of it, and I was like, I love this. And then I forgot to go back.
Yeah, I think it's an Amazon series, because they also have a 2-part documentary on the creation, and then also when they stopped doing their thing and went their separate ways, and then also coming back to doing the comedy again.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a traditional comedy troupe that would perform in various venues. And that's how they met and did that, kind of like you would like improv places. But,
yeah,
you know, when they came up with their sketches and they worked on them, and finally HBO said, okay, you can do it. And then told them, okay, well, no, you can't do it. You're going to be canceled. But then someone else said, no, don't cancel them. But anyway, it's a really interesting documentary.
Lorne Michaels?
Well, Lorne Michaels has pull, right? So if anyone, yeah.
At some point, Lorne Michaels got involved.
Lorne Michaels. Everyone does a Lorne Michaels. They even say about this.
Lorne.
They even say in the show that everyone does a Lorne Michaels impression. And it's true. They do. Kind of sounds like Dr. Evil. In fact, I think Dr. Evil...
Oh, it's probably based on Lorne, yeah.
I think I saw the making of...
Yeah.
And it was Lorne Michaels. Anyway, Kids in the Hall does this sketch in their first season. I guess it's meta.
It's meta, yeah.
It's making fun of the whole process of writing and comedy, how you come up with this premise and then you kind of write around the premise. It's not like you craft a joke. You come up with the premise and then how is this premise funny, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was two of them. The first one's my favorite. The second one where they're people who have presents as heads, I didn't like that as much as the first one, which was, what if a person ran for office who really shouldn't have bothered? That was... And then...
He's got a meat hand!
Right. The punchline was, guy has a meat hand!
Yeah.
And just the sound that meat hitting the guy's hand when he's shaking his hand makes, that to me is the part that I laugh at every time. Just the wet sort of slapping sound it makes.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite Kids in the Hall sketch?
Oh boy. I now have to think back because
I kind of like the 30 Helens Agree thing.
30 Helens Agree is a classic
Yeah.
premise. Yes. 30 Helens Agree. Hawaii was better before.
Yep.
But it sure was. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a whole bunch of, that was like one of their classic interludes between different parts of the episode, right? 30 Helens Agree. I always thought it was funny just how people make up statistics, like 4 out of 5 dentists. It's like, that's a made up statistic. I'd like to see some data. Really? 4 out of 5 dentists? How many did you survey? Just 5.
Just 5. But 4 of them,
And we gave them free gum, too.
I also like the Francesca Fiore and Bruno Putz-Jones saga.
Yeah. Is that the one with where is he? What is he thinking of? Is he thinking of me? Was that Francesca Fiore?
She might have been in that. Yeah, because I think so. I think that might have been a Francesca Fiore.
No.
The one thing I remember a lot is their trial and divorce court. And Bruno Putz-Jones is like, his argument is that she beats him. And then her defense was, look at him. I can't help it. And the judge is like, here, come over here. And then, Bruno goes over and the judge slaps him. He's like, it's true. You can't help it. The head crusher was...
I'm not a big fan of the head crusher personally, but it was kind of funny. Like the whole Rocky Balboa sort of saga where he gets knocked down, but then he comes back stronger and kind of, making fun of those types of things. The little kid who has the battle against the devil, the guitar battle, and he uses the holy trinity of rock, which is smoke on the water.
Smoke on the water.
B-A-B-D-A-B-A-V. Anyway. Two of my favorites of Kids in the Hall, the Dr. Seuss Bible, I always thought was hilarious. And then another one was the Buddy Holly sketch. Did you ever see that one?
I did, but I can't remember what they did with it. Buddy Holly.
Kevin plays Buddy Holly, which is just perfect. And he gets drunk before they get in the plane. And he's complaining about how Big Bopper is smelling and whatever. And he's like, I can do whatever I want. I wrote Peggy Sue. Just like going on and on about how he's on the top of the world. Who knows what great songs he'll write, blah, blah, blah. And then he has the idea that he's going to let his monkey fly the plane. So he's got this little rhesus monkey in a box that he goes.
Yeah.
And then at the closing, you've got Big Bopper saying, hey, buddy, what's that monkey doing flying the plane? Yeah, they just had some really good sketches. Amazon is in my rotation, and every once in a while I will get Amazon Prime and then stop it really quick. But during that time when I have the Amazon Prime, I can access the
shows.
The shows and the videos and whatnot. So maybe the next time I do that for a month, I'll check it out. Because I didn't realize that they had gotten back together again and done some original material. So here's a question I have. I mean, you write comedy because you wrote your Larry, the Horrible Time Traveler, right?
Right. The first volume of my trilogy of time travel novels.
Was the premise, the kernel, that started, like, what if there was a guy who was a time traveler who didn't really want to do it, but just kind of fell into it, and he's just really bad at it.
He's really bad at it. He didn't even know he was doing it. Yeah.
Is that what you started out with? And then you write around that and then build other premises, other situations off of that premise?
Yeah, that was the premise. It was basically, the idea was that somebody at a taco truck was making tacos out of coelacanth, which is this like primordial prehistoric looking fish that almost has legs.
Right.
Yeah. And so
people have them on the making fun of Darwin stickers.
Are those stickers making fun of Darwin, or are they championing Darwin? I don't know.
You're right. They're not making fun of Darwin. They're making fun of people who have the Jesus fish stickers on there. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, well, that premise is a little thin. But
you've been working on this for a while now, right? As far as your...
yeah.
Listen, I'm not saying that as a negative.
No, it's been with me. Like the first book, I started probably, in 2012. Yeah, it took me a couple of years to write that. And then I decided I wanted to do a follow-up. So I started writing the follow-up, which... Coincidentally, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put it on a Patreon, and that's going to help me keep me honest and make me keep writing.
That premise didn't work?
Probably. I think I started that like 2 months before COVID started.
Oh, okay.
So I got started out pretty strong on writing because, what else was I going to do?
Right.
I mean, it was good. Not what else. I could have done lots of stuff, and I did all kinds of stuff. COVID was great. It was great for a homebody like me. But yeah, I did some writing, and so I got started on sequel, and now I'm really close to the conclusion of the second book. But I've been having trouble getting around to writing it, partly because I keep doing other projects.
Right.
I'm like, this looks fun. Let's go do that, and then.
Well, you also said something interesting to me, which is you've got the idea, but part of this is you're writing a character out of the script. And you don't want to do it.
That's part of it. So, okay, here is, it's complicated. Because I've got a character that's been there. He's like, I don't know, a foil to one of the main characters. Like, he's not a villain. He's just sort of like, I don't want to give away too much. He's an important character.
Right.
But, there's, I had to realize, there was going to be this certain part of his arc that tied him into another character, and then I realized the situation is right. This is where he's gonna die gloriously, or whatever, but it's a little bit hard for me to get to writing that part,
especially when you have connections with the characters that you're building, right?
The main character, Larry, he got this weird taco made with the dinosaur fish in 1993, and that triggered his time traveling. He was really into Nirvana. And then it was going to be coming up on the 20th anniversary of Kurt Cobain's passing. And I realized that I needed to finish the book because I didn't want Larry to find out that Kurt had died. And I was like, if I stop writing before the 20th anniversary of Kurt Cobain's death, then I don't have to break this horrible news to him.
Okay.
I know. But that helped me finish up get through the first narrative. Yeah. Then I had to go back and do rewrites.
Do you think that it's common for the writer to develop relationships with their own characters like that? It seems to me a unique thing. You're just writing this. It's like you can write whatever you want, but you want it to be meaningful and you want to do these characters justice. But I mean, having those types of relationships with your own characters, do you think a lot of authors do that? Or is it just kind of like, well, I'm writing this story? I mean, it's all conjecture.
It is a good question. I think a lot of authors do have some deep emotional connections to their characters, because they sort of live with the voices of these characters in their heads for years as they're coming up with if it's a novel, it takes a long time to write that. But then there's some of these authors that just crank out stuff as if they were like a chat GPT themselves.
Right.
You know, for example, some of like your just frequent flyers on the bestseller list, like, you know, James Patterson, there was a while where it seemed like he was cranking out a book a month, and it's like, well, does he have that kind of connection with his characters? Maybe he does.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is the guy who wrote Pelican Brief and the guy who wrote...
Pelican Brief. Oh, John Grisham?
John Grisham is one of those guys that I think that just kept on cranking. To some extent, Michael Crichton also.
He's more... Yeah. I mean, John Grisham is like more of a book a year kind of guy.
Uh-huh.
Whereas like James Patterson, it was like when I was working at Bookman's, it was like every month there'd be a new James Patterson book, and it was like, how is this guy doing it?
Okay.
And like the truth is, like, he's got ghostwriters, and
right,
you know, it's more of a franchise than, but it's fine. It's entertainment. You know, I'm not dissing James Patterson.
It's kind of a comic book sort of way of releasing content, like monthlies, right?
Yeah.
If that's the approach, then it makes sense that if you write it for a comic book, you can do the same for just a regular book.
You could do that. And like, it's not like he's all, you know, it's not like every one of his books is the same series. You'd have like multiple series going on. And
right.
Some of them would have credited co-writers on the covers and some don't. And then he's got the ones for kids and the young adults. And it's just right. A powerhouse. Whereas like John Grisham seems like he'd do like a solid book a year, which that's a good pace, you know.
Michael Crichton also, right?
Michael Crichton, yeah, he would be. Yeah, I feel like his production, like, yeah, he wasn't too crazy. Like, he would spend a little more time on each book, but they would get big.
Right, they would get very large. And then you have the Robin Cook also was one of those ones that I thought.
Yeah, he sort of, yeah, it's like similar, you know, doctor turn author kind of thing.
But then until that trend subsides, just keep on cranking them out until...
How many times can I rewrite Coma?
Yeah, exactly.
With Michael Crichton, I feel like a lot of his stories were a reworking of Andromeda Strain, but...
Oh, okay. All right.
But that's from me watching the movies, right? I'm like, oh...
Not
Jurassic Park's Andromeda Strain, except for it's dinosaurs instead of space virus.
Right.
And,
right.
Oh, Congo is Andromeda Strain, except it's monkeys. Sphere is Andromeda Strain, except for it's a spaceship.
Right.
So it's like every movie kind of has that, oh, here's this collection of experts from various fields called in to investigate this problem.
It's a recycled premise, is what you're saying.
Well, I don't know. I think the structure was the same. Like, the premise would always be slightly different, but it was the structure that kept...
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Which, you know what? People like that.
They like consistency.
Yeah.
Especially in New York Times bestsellers or whatever.
People want to know what they're going to read.
Right.
I would say for a lot of books, a lot of popular fiction, like, I really shouldn't diss the format. It works.
And yeah, and this is not dissing him. It's like people write differently. With artwork, I know I'm going to connect with something. The connection that someone has with one of my pieces of art is going to be totally different than what my connection is to it, whether it's positive or not positive, right? It's like other people connect to whatever you put out in different ways. So if it's popular, it's popular. I don't know. So why isn't there a movie or video game of Larry the Horrible Time Traveler yet? I don't know. There should be.
Well, you know, there's something going on in Hollywood right now. No, I'm going to blame it on the writer's strike is, no.
Is it nearing the end? I thought they made some sort of, people are going back to work with a preliminary sort of agreement.
The Writers Guild got a tentative agreement.
Gotcha.
I think that the actors
are still...
They'll probably get sorted out soon. I have this feeling that if the studios, you know, figured something out with the writers, then they'll be able to figure out something with the actors too. Because it sounds like figuring it out with the writers means that, yeah, we want to get back to business. So I feel like, yeah, I hope that works out.
Yeah, me too.
Just for, you know, who wants to be on the picket line in LA in November? The weather is just too nice.
Maybe it's that. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe.
Yeah, you want to be striking in the middle of summer where it's really crappy out, really hot.
Right. So, I mean, my creative process is different, and it's like I have connections with my artwork, whatever that artwork is. It's mostly drawing, paintings, stuff like that, but it's different when you're writing characters, and it's like you have to take them across a certain storyline, and some of that means that there has to be impactful, meaningful deaths of characters that you like, and that's part of writing an effective book, I think. Did you ever see the movie Stranger Than Fiction?
I don't think so. Stranger Than Fiction? Oh, it sounds familiar, but...
2006 film, romantic comedy with Will Ferrell, Emma Thompson, Dustin Hoffman, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Queen Latifah, and Tony Hale. Those are the top billed folks.
Tony Hale.
It's basically this guy all of a sudden starts hearing a voice in his head who's the author that's writing his character.
Right. I remember seeing the trailer for this, yeah.
It's actually a really good movie. Dustin Hoffman does a good job as kind of the college professor who's sort of trying to help, but he's trying to figure out more for the mystery of it. And trying to figure out who's writing his storyline. And then they figure out it's someone who writes novels that are very dark, where the main character always dies.
Oh, and then you're like, oh no.
Yeah. I'd say it's worth checking out. It's one of those ones that I think is overlooked as far as a good picture. Written by Zach Helm.
So this is the premise of that film sort of reminded me of a trailer I just recently saw for an upcoming film.
Oh, okay.
Featuring a little known actor named Nicolas Cage.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You might have heard of him. I don't know. No.
Nicholas Coppola.
Yep. Secret Coppola. Nicholas Kim Coppola. The movie, it's called Dream Scenario.
Okay.
People keep having these like dreams, and then there's just like this guy in the background. And like all these people are like, yeah, I saw that guy in my dreams too. And the guy is this character that Nicolas Cage plays.
Okay.
There's no real explanation for why he's in everybody's dreams, but I don't know.
Huh.
It looks like an interesting premise that
it could be.
For some reason, but it's like a bald, bearded Nicolas Cage. It's like...
Okay.
Sometimes the Nicolas Cage movie, it's something he does to pay the bills, and sometimes this one looks like it's pretty cool.
Couldn't be any worse than Kiss of Death. David Caruso.
I totally saw that one.
Yeah.
I think I hated it. That sounds like mid-90s. Is that what that was?
Yeah, mid-90s.
Yep, 1995. Exactly mid-90s.
Yep.
Oh, gosh. I'm looking at those. They were little tiny babies back then. Look at them.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see the movie Amos and Andrew?
I don't think I saw it, but I heard about
1993 film with Nicolas Cage and Samuel Jackson.
Right.
Oh, boy. American buddy action comedy. I remember seeing it, and I probably didn't get it.
Yeah.
But you look at the cast, you're like, ooh. Honeymoon in Vegas. That was a fun one.
You just reading all the Nicolas Cage movies
I'm reading
now?
that, and I'm looking at the list of Nicolas Cage's filmography. He's been in a lot of movies.
He was in Fast Times. I think he was uncredited, but he was in Fast Times as one of the football players.
He's a background Coppola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incognito.
He's just this powerhouse of productivity here. Sorry, I went down the Nicolas Cage rabbit hole. Let's talk about the premise of Nicolas Cage movies. Yeah.
Which there are some weird ones. But anyway.
Well, you brought up Raising Arizona earlier, so it's not entirely my fault.
No, it's mine. I guess it's my fault.
All roads lead to Nicolas Cage.
So we talked about briefly a little bit about video game premises.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Do you have any video game related premises that you think about at all? Because there is an article in Cracked magazine, 12 Great Video Games with Ridiculous Premises article.
Super Mario Brothers. An Italian plumber travels through a brightly colored fantasy world, collecting coins and mushrooms. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
He crushes turtles and Goombas to death in order to rescue a princess from being raped by a dinosaur who pilots an airship.
Yeah, that's a...
You are a robot built from the ground up.
Mega Man, yeah.
For combat by the world's greatest living mind, and yet you are 4 feet tall and incapable of ducking. or using any weapons other than a tiny, slow-moving pellet of energy. You've been tasked with killing other robots whose powers have themes like leaves and garbage. Tetris says, quick, bricks are falling. Make them interconnect so they'll disappear. Don't question it. It's all for the good of Mother Russia. That's the premise of Tetris.
That's... I feel like someone was on a deadline.
Yeah, exactly. A premise that has a connection to you, sort of. I know that you like Community. I recently finished this game by Squanch Games, which originally they were called Squanch Tendo.
I know who Squanch is.
Do you ever watch Rick and Morty?
I watched the first few seasons, and then I think I got enough.
Yeah, it just seems like more of the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think I've watched all the seasons, but it kind of Pickle Rick jumped the shark for me.
Yeah, I think that was about when I was like, oh, Pickle Rick, yeah, okay.
I mean, you have some interesting concepts, and Dan Harmon?
Dan Harmon, yeah.
Yeah, he's involved in all the writing. Well, Squanch Games is a studio that was started by Justin Roiland.
The problematic Justin Roiland, yeah.
Not in season 7 of Rick and Morty, apparently.
No.
Something is off about the voices, but it could be Justin Roiland doing different voices. So I don't know. The reason I mentioned the problematic Justin Roiland and his game studio, Squanch Games, is I completed a game recently called High on Life. The premise of High on Life is aliens find Earth and discover that if you smoke human beings, you can get high, and it's a new drug. So they go to Earth to take humans so they can smoke them in their bongs.
It's a weird premise.
It gets even weirder because there's a race of beings called Gatlians that are guns that talk. Essentially, you are talking with your gun the entire time. You're a silent protagonist, though. This game has all sorts of hidden sort of things that are supposed to be funny. It's got the humor. Okay. You know the over-the-top, sort of gross out, being despicable people kind of humor that's in Rick and Morty?
Mm-hmm.
You know how that, you have that kind of character in Rick Sanchez, mostly, but I mean, in other characters too. It's a first-person shooter game. You rescue these Gatlians and you rescue humans. You're a high schooler, of course, who meets this Gatlian and then finds out that you are really good at being a bounty hunter. So then you go out and you try and take down members of the G3, which is the crime organization that's going to Earth to harvest the humans so they can make drugs out of them. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not funny. That's the problem. It's kind of going along the lines of Rick and Morty. In fact, Justin Roiland is one of the first guns that you come across.
Mm-hmm. And
so he is the one that you talk to the most. They have other actors that play the different other guns. But it's, I don't know, it's just a thoroughly mediocre first-person shooter platformer game. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, the premise is an interesting premise, but I don't care about the characters. I don't care about this high schooler. It felt like it was written as a joke because they do some meta humor about how games work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here you go. Here's the training thing where you got to hit the button twice for double jump. And it's like, oh no, we don't have double jump. We have ducking. You can duck. And it's like some of these things it's funny a little bit, but it's just not.
Yeah.
It's not as funny as I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be Dan Harmon funny. Say what you will about the other seasons of Rick and Morty that you didn't see, but it has a story and characters that you connect with on some level. Even Rick sometimes, right?
Right.
So that's my disappointing experience recently, which led me to play a game like Ratchet and Clank, which gave me joy.
Yeah.
It was a well-done platform game involving these silly guns that you level up, and, they have things like homing saw blades, but it's also got cute and clever humor in it, and it's well-written. It might not be the most groundbreaking story ever, but it's nice and wholesome and has funny parts, and it's fun to play, and And High on Life is none of that. It's a sucky Ratchet and Clank, essentially.
Yeah. That's kind of I can see that, like that without the Dan Harmon magic, the Justin Roiland stuff
is just about swearing and being gross, and I'm not okay. Let me just say, I'm not passing judgment on him. Some people find this funny. In fact, there are people who rank this game very highly, saying it is a funny game. I just didn't find that brand of humor funny.
I think you can pass judgment on Justin Roiland.
Okay.
I think we can judge him for being abusive to his partner and
taking advantage of people who were fans of his work.
And also, like, I heard him on an episode of Harmontown. It might have been pre Rick and Morty even, but his viewpoint on the world's very dark, and it just like made me sort of worried about him as a person. Like,
I read an article where Dan Harmon, they were talking about, he finally kind of broke the silence about Justin Roiland, I guess. I don't remember what the article was, other than he said that the last time he spoke to him, he was really worried about him and said a few things, but then it ended up breaking up their friendship, essentially. It just kind of ended badly. Just to be obtuse, that's just the way he was in, Dan Harmon.
Dan Harmon is at least, he knows he's got some problems and he's working on them. That's the thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what he said in the article too. It's like, listen, I'm the last person to criticize, but there are things that you do and you've got to take responsibility. And if you want to change them, change them. One of the other things I want an illustration about how unfunny this whole thing is, there's a bit where you need to put goop on you in order to get into some sort of level, I guess. It's like goop. And then it comes to light that it's actually alien cum. Really?
Do we need to go there?
Yeah. I know, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, it's not funny.
Yeah.
I was expecting Dan Harmon level writing, and I got subpar writing, game dynamics that were okay, but definitely not quality.
Right.
Pretty easy to play through the whole game on myself. They recently announced DLC for it, which is about this talking knife that you have. He wants to cut people, so he always talks about... See, the whole premise, it's like these talking weapons, right? The knife has bloodlust and always gets really excited when he gets to cut people's parts off. And
stuff designed to really appeal to like a 13-year-old boy mentality.
In what time frame, right? 13-year-old boys now are different than 13-year-old boys back when we were growing up. There probably are some commonalities, I guess. You have more exposure to 13-year-old boys. That's not, I'm not going to say that. That's not a good thing to say. But you know what I mean?
I've never exposed myself to a 13-year-old boy. How dare you?
Let's just say that for the record. You have contact with them as a part of your job, right? You have contact with children as a part of your job. Are there commonalities in the way humor hits that age range that's similar the way it hit for us?
Well, yeah. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking like the kids I hung out with in middle school, there was some pretty raunchy humor going on with them.
Right.
And so it's sort of like why I never really liked watching South Park that much.
Yeah.
Because it was all the same jokes that I heard on the bus in the 8th grade.
That's it too. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that, and then there's a certain kind of like, violent or sexual humor or violently sexual humor that comes from not really understanding how to handle the hormones that are going on.
Right.
And nobody actually wants to talk to kids that age about, your hormones are hijacking you, and
yeah.
No, actually, that's the way they do talk about it. So the kids then don't really want to like talk or listen. And then
it just kind of shuts down communication. It has the opposite effect of what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shame-based way of addressing puberty that sort of makes the maladaption being this kind of humor. And yeah. Alien cum, that's the goop.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with South Park type humor, like people finding that stuff funny. I like something that was clever, referentially clever, but there is an audience for that kind of humor. It's just not me. So,
yeah.
And I probably won't play the DLC about the knife that gets into his backstory because I don't care about the knife's backstory. So anyway, the talking knife.
Is the talking knife named Mac?
No, he is not named Mac.
No.
He is Australian, though, or at least his accent is Australian.
I don't think I want to play it either.
Yeah, don't play it. Not worth it. Well, do you want to wrap up the show?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Your final words on the word premise. Geez, it's just such a vast, it's anything having to do with creativity, I think.
Yeah, basically anything, any idea that you can base anything off of is a premise. Yeah. So that's cool.
But it's not a premises.
Premises is some real estate and some buildings. Yeah.
That's what it is, right.
That's what it is. Get yourself off the premises.
Right. Doesn't get sucked into the minutia of the definition.
The premises? Or the premises premise. Yeah.
Premises premise.
Ooh, whoa.
What?
That will be my legal thriller, the premises premise. I'm going to write that down on my vision board.
Okay, excellent.
my project whiteboard. Things I should write one day. The premises premise. So we just sent that metaphor up into itself. So there we go.
That's a good enough stopping point, I think.
I think so.
Well, Andrew, once again, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you helping out.
Right on.
Well, I mean, really like you being on the show. I enjoy it. One of our biggest fans loves you on the show too, and she says hello.
Our biggest fan, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, hello, biggest fan.
Yes. She used to have her own mailbag. Now she does not. Thank you, audience, for joining us on this week's episode of the Too Vague Podcast. My name is Ben.
My name is Andrew.
And we've been your hosts. Have a wonderful evening, or at least a premise of a wonderful evening.
Have a wonderful evening on the premises of your premise.
Bye.
Bye.